Brilliant. Hopefully you can all see that. So let's get going. Welcome to today's Business Owner Masterclass. The subject is how to grow your business and avoid burnout. And we're going to talk for about an hour here. This call is being recorded, will be uploaded onto YouTube. Please get involved and share your experience. I'm going to ask you questions as we go. And you know, this is what I'm here to do today. So what I want for you to be able to reclaim your freedom and be successful. That's my aim for you. How are we going to do it? Well, I'll tell you how we're going to do it. We're going to learn how to create high value. We're going to learn how to influence the right people. We're going to talk about taking regular action because change does not happen without action. And we're going to do all of those things whilst also reducing your stress. And if you do steps 1 to 3, that will reduce your stress. I always say to people, I am not a well-being coach. That's not what I do. I'm a business coach. What I'm interested in doing is helping you tackle the kind of core issue around stress and burnout, which is actually how does your business function and how does it fit with the rest of your life? So if we do these things and if you are proactive, you will by default reduce your stress and reduce your risk of burnout, which I know is a really common issue. And I do talk about it a lot because people do bring it to me a lot as this is something, Joe, that I am experiencing with my business. So what we want as an outcome, we want more impact from the time we're putting into our business and our lives. We obviously want more money, we want more profit, we want our businesses to deliver what we need it to deliver for us. And of course, we want less stress and reduce our risk of burnout. My aims for this session is to provide you with advice and guidance. I'm going to talk through, I'm going to give you all the kind of things that I've experienced, the things I've distilled from my career, give you some things to think about, give you some tools and some principles that will really help you. I will introduce you to my Founders Reboot program at the end, which is my process, my program that I work through with my clients that puts all of this stuff I'm going to talk about into place. And I will answer any questions. We'll have time for questions at the end. You can ask anything at the end. There's a Q&A. Feel free to type that in, or you can use the chat box. I can see it. So do put in things as we're going along. Just to give you an introduction to me. So my name's Joe. I'm a business owner like you, so I've been in your shoes. I'm a qualified performance coach. Beware, not all coaches are qualified. I know what I'm talking about. I've studied it. I do it. I practice it. That's what I do. I'm an award-winning strategist and innovator. My career has always been about change and growth, and I'll talk a bit more about that shortly. And, you know, I'm getting a bit long in the tooth now. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and it's all about making success happen. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can use that QR code. Hold your camera up to the screen, and it will take you to my LinkedIn page. There's also, you'll see in the bottom left, there's a QR code that says book a call. If at any point you want to book a call with me, and if you can't stay till the end and you want to put something in my diary, hold your phone up to that QR code in the bottom left, and it will take you to my diary, and you can just book a call in for whenever's convenient for you. So that's on most of the slides throughout this presentation. So do use it if you need to use it. So organizations that I've worked with, I've got a really broad experience. As you can see, these are just some of the organizations I've worked with, and it's a real mix of, you know, big organizations, small, tiny startups, and pretty much everything in between. And it's enabled me to really understand different cultures, different ways of working, and in all honesty, to help distill like what actually works. Through working with these organizations, through working with them, for them, in partnership with them, it's really given me a window because I'm always working on growth and strategy. And it's through doing all this work with all these different organizations, I've been able to see what are the things, what are the ingredients that helps an organization build momentum, and what are the ones that, you know, enables it to get stuck basically and in a rut. And my word, that does happen a lot. I've done a lot of different roles. I won't go into detail what it is here, but I've kind of worked very broadly. I've never been like a true specialist in one area. I've worked a long way across on strategy, communications, marketing, data, coaching, and leadership. And that, as I say, I've got over 20 years experience. Now, this is what I'm seeing a lot of at the moment. And it's a lot of people. So I talk to a lot of business owners, and I'm really surprised how many of you are having a really tough time at the moment. I mean, you may not be. I don't know. I don't know your background, your experience, and what you're doing at the moment. But I'm definitely seeing this with a lot of people I'm talking to right now. And I'm really surprised, actually, with some of the people who I'm seeing experience this and who are telling me about this, because very often they're very experienced. They're not new business owners. They're people who've been in business for many years, and they're telling me that they're working really, really hard, but sales are really tight, profits really tight. Getting sales over the line has been very difficult lately. So I'd be interested to hear from you whether any of these apply. So put it in the chat if they do, because it will help me actually with this. I'm going ahead a bit there. Sorry about that. Tell me which of these, because these are the most common reasons that I see as to why people are not getting the performance and the outcomes from the business that they want. So obviously there's the case of like just not getting enough profit, maybe driven by sales, not getting enough sales over the line. I'm seeing this a lot at the moment. I'm seeing people get overwhelmed by their business. They feel like they're firefighting. They feel constantly stressed. They feel like they're going to burn out. Trying to keep a lot of plates spinning at the same time. It's a really common issue. I speak to some people who say they've been running their business for several years and they're just kind of a bit stagnant because they're finding it harder to sustain the business. So what I mean is they're working harder and harder to basically stand still. So they run a business, they've got credibility, they've got clients, but each year gets incrementally a little bit harder in order to just stay running, basically. And I've got theories about why that is, and I've got experience of working with people in that situation. Again, let me know in the chat if this applies, if any of these apply to you. The other factor that I often see is people have outside pressures and responsibilities that then impinge on their ability to run their business. So it could be around family, it could be around caring, it could be around other social things they've got going on. That can really make it more difficult to run our business. So do let me know if any of these particularly apply to you, because what I'm seeing is a lot of people are sorry. I'll keep these up for you. What I'm seeing is I think the economy, although we're technically in growth at the moment, I think the news around the economy and what we see in the media is actually masking something. A lot of challenge for small business owners. So I think a lot of the growth is being masked by big corporations and these big organizations. And what I'm seeing is more and more small business telling me, actually, this economy is really bad for me at the moment. And I think that what's happening is there's still a lot of uncertainty in the market, and clients they're using it as a reason not to buy. Whether it's B2B or B2C, this uncertainty is putting people off a desire to go and invest because they just feel like, I just need to hang on a bit. I don't feel ready to do it. And I think, as I say, I think this is really being masked at the time. If this is something you've been experiencing, do drop it in the chat. No one else can see it, by the way. It will just be me who can see it. But I'm interested to know if any of you are having that particular issue. So these are the problems that people most typically come to me with, and these are the things that when I ask them, what have you tried, these tend to be the most common answers. So number one, you can work harder and you can work longer hours. And I think, we all default to that. And I know I've defaulted to that throughout my career. Let's just keep working harder. Let's work a bit tougher and let's just see if we can get through this bad patch. So working harder, working longer, that's number one. The second thing is like making lots of small changes, but realizing that over time, nothing's really shifting the dial. So you're trying a lot of things, nothing's really working so far. Third thing to try is cutting prices, try and get a short-term boost by doing that, which of course often does work. But then there's a question about sustainability. And there's also a question about brand positioning as well about doing that. It can have an impact. A very common refrain, and this is organizations of all sizes, well, we want to do the big change. We want to change the business and we know how we want to grow, but we'll do it next year. As if next year is going to be calmer than this year. Because it never is, right? It's never the case. So delaying changes to next year or next quarter or whatever it might be, a really common thing. And the fifth one is spending too long. So you might be working on a strategy to grow the business, but you're doing it in between other things and it just takes too long. Or maybe you're the type of person who just overthinks these things and you're spending too long thinking, not enough time doing. And what I want to say to you today is like all of these things are traps, basically. They're traps that keep you in that place that's kind of stressed and on the verge of burnout. The biggest trap of all is working harder and longer. That really is a recipe for burnout, to keep doing that. And if you're in that mode, it's really important that you do take a step back to acknowledge it and go, actually, this is unsustainable. And we all think, well, maybe if I just try a little bit longer, I'll get through this. But I'm here to tell you, like, if you want to get out of the burnout risk, you need to change this. You need to be proactive. All of these things are traps, and it's important that we recognize them, and they've all got their different implications. But it is important that we actually recognize this and we do take some action on it. So my principle is, and why I do this work with people like yourself, is that progress depends on founders. This is the foundation stone of my business and what I'm all about, because I've always spent my career in enabling others to create change and growth. And I'm particularly passionate about working with founders of businesses, people who take the responsibility to start something up, create a new product, create a new service, whatever it might be, because it's a really unique thing. When you do that, you should be very proud of doing it, despite all the slings and arrows and all the pressure that you face. Because society depends on people like you running businesses and making things happen. Like most people who are very, very competent at their jobs, who are in employment, can't do what you're doing or are unwilling to do what you're doing. So I always say to my clients, you should be very proud of what you do and you should use that as the positive platform to build on, because it takes a lot of resilience and it takes a lot of ingenuity and it takes, and we have to handle a lot of stress to do it. So always bear that in mind. And the question I often ask people as well is like, why did you start your business? And it's really worth dwelling on this question for a moment. Gary Vaynerchuk, he says, like, the root cause of burnout often lies in the lack of understanding why you're doing what you're doing. And he's trying to do what I'm doing here now, is just to sort of shine a light on it for you, on something going on in the back of your head that you actually need to bring to the front and actually think about. Because why do we start our business? We might start it for financial security. We might start it because we want more control over our time. We want more free time. It might be it's just about income and the things that a higher income will enable. And a lot of people tell me, well, one client of mine, he's works in the legal business, and he says, well, the reason I started my business is I was working for other legal firms and I just hated the sector, I hated the industry, I hated how it operated, I hated how we treated clients, I hated how we treated each other. He said, I'm going to start a business so that I can employ only people that I get on with and I can deliver the service that I know my clients deserve. So sometimes it is around, what we believe in, what our purpose is. And some people just they want the fun. Let's make ideas happen. But it's really important for you. Have a think about what it is. Why did you start in the first place? Because what we find is we lose that thing when we're chasing the next sale or fixing the latest problem. We lose sight of this stuff. And if we lose sight of it, that's why we're on a path to stress and burnout. Most of my clients that I work with are driven by freedom. I don't know if this is the case for you, but this is the core thing. It's the core thing is why I started my business. A lot of my clients, they want that freedom of some degree. And that's why they persist through the tough times, because it's so precious hanging on to that freedom, the freedom of not having a boss, the freedom to do and implement the ideas that we want, the freedom to make money and then do what we want with that money. So if it is, it's a good thing to hang on to and remember it, but it doesn't mean it's easy. It's definitely not easy. And, today I want to give you a little bit of a wake-up call and to think about something that may be going on, as I've mentioned before, in the back of your head that we need to bring to the front, because this is a real problem I find with a lot of clients, is they're working ever harder to get a result from their business. And as they're doing so, they're having this thought at the back of their head, which is, do I have what it takes? Do I have what it takes to get the next sale, to sustain the business for another year? Do I have what it takes to take it to the next level? This is often the unconscious question that we're asking ourselves. But it's absolutely fundamental. And the thing is, I would also say the answer is yes, you do have what it takes. And I know that for several reasons. One is, if you've already started a business and you're running a business, it proves you're willing to take that step, which, as I said, most people aren't willing to do. So you've got to take some pride and you've got to take some confidence from that. The other reason I know it's a yes, even though I might not know you and I don't know your business, is I've seen this with other clients. I know if you go through the process of unpacking what's the barriers, what are the blind spots, what are the opportunities, there's always a path to better success, providing you're willing to take action. And that's the important thing. You can't rest on this. It doesn't get better just through doing longer hours. And I also want to say, in this current market, as I say, I think the economy is masking how difficult it is for small and medium businesses at the moment. So don't take it personally if you're finding the economy quite tough. You're still great at what you do. As I say, I'm talking to a lot of people who are very experienced people. And often the people who've come to me, I've been quite surprised at, because they're people I know and respect, and I know they're brilliant at what they do. And yet they're finding it tough. And yet they need some support to sustain and get to the next level. People with more experience than myself in business. So don't take it personally if you're finding it tough, because you haven't changed. You're still great at what you do. But you do need to find another gear and another angle, and that only comes through action. So, as a reminder, I want you to reclaim your freedom. I want you to be successful. This is how we do it. As a reminder, it's about creating high value. It's about communication. This is a really, really key point that people underestimate. You can build the best product or service in the world, but if you can't influence the right people, the right partners, the right clients, your staff, communication is a huge part of it. And that's what I work a lot on with my clients, because it's a very underestimated element. And it's about regular action, and do all that, and it reduces your stress and risk of burnout. It's about getting back in control of your business. That's what I help people to do. That's what you should be looking to do. Now, getting on to how do we do this? How do we actually, what is it we want to create? What do we want to aim for? What does the successful business look like? Well, the data shows that it's businesses that have a strong degree of purpose combined with pace. They're pace-setting businesses. I talked about momentum before. When I've been inside successful organizations, they have momentum. And the reason they have momentum is they set the pace. And the reason they set the pace is they're not afraid to make decisions. You can't underestimate how much hesitancy costs you and your business. When we're indecisive, we're not on the front foot and we're not setting the pace. Pace setting purposeful organizations, they enjoy 8%, as the stats say, on average, this is 8% higher sales than their peers, 25% better staff retention. Like, this is what the leading organizations look like. They're not afraid to make decisions. They're not afraid to get things wrong, but they make decisions and go forward. And they do it because they've got a clear purpose about what they're there to do for themselves and their customers. It's the fastest route to more growth and less stress. Is you have to unearth the highest value solution. So you need to think, like, how do I set myself apart from my peers? Where's the high value coming from? And then you have to be decisive. And then you have to hold yourself to account so change actually happens. It's quite simple when you lay it out, but it's amazing how quickly, when we look at a business and map it out, these things are not being done. And it's understandable. And I've been in that situation myself. It's like you're super busy keeping everything running. And, you know, there's a lot of demands. So it's hard, but you've got to make sure that you carve out the time to do this and to do it quickly. This thing does not need to be a long 3-month, 6-month process. It's better when it's actually done quicker, because then you are going to be a pace-setting business and you're going to be making decisions. This is the one thing that no one ever tells you about creating high value. You have to be brave. And what do I mean by that? I mean bravery to stand out and be a little bit different from the other businesses you're competing with, the others in your sector. Now, you've got to think, like, we are, as humans, we're intrinsically, especially when we're growing up as children, we're learning to conform, to mix with the group. We're learning to be, you know, to fit in with others. And if you look at any kind of business sector, it's full of businesses doing this, being very much alike. Literally one for one, you could swap them out. I mean, I work here in Cheltenham. We have a lot of cyber business. That's cyber security. That's the big growth industry in this area. And if you look on the website of most of these businesses, they're all identical. They say the same things, the same talking points. They even look the same. They always have a cool blue and black website. It's very similar. There's no reason to pick one over the other. And this is the problem where we get into this trap where this feeds down to our difficulty acquiring and retaining clients. Is because we're not brave enough to be a bit different and to say things the others don't say and to be a bit weird. It feels weird, doesn't it? When we're at school, we don't want to be the weird one. But actually in business, we need to be the brave enough one to be a bit weird. I'm going to give you, this is the example I always love to give because it's just a really good shorthand for this. The Henry Hoover. If you're British, you'll almost certainly know who Henry Hoover is. You know, it's just an ordinary vacuum cleaner with a smiley face on it and given a name called Henry. And this is the last mass-produced Hoover in the UK. There's no others. But still, they've got a factory with 1,000 people, and it makes hundreds of millions of pounds. And every builder's got one, haven't they? I don't know why that is. They just like cute faces. I don't know. But this has been a successful long-term. This has been going for decades, this Henry Hoover, because it's got charm and personality and it stands out and it's memorable and all those things. And yet putting a face on a Hoover is a really intrinsically weird thing to do. When you actually take a step back, we're so used to it, we've forgotten how strange this is. But it's a bit like you know, compare the market with the meerkat. It's being brave enough to go, we're going to offer people comparison on finance and insurance and things, and we're going to do it through the power of meerkats. It's very weird and strange, but that bravery means it's memorable when it cuts through. And you can do this at any level. It's not just huge firms that can do this. Any small business, even micro businesses, can do this if they're brave enough to do it and if they really understood where can we leverage the highest value for our clients. I talked before about being more decisive. So how do we get to that position when we're more decisive? Well, first of all, is to avoid perfectionism. And this is a problem for a lot of business owners because by nature, if I'm honest, we're control freaks. And we want to keep abreast of everything in the business because we've been doing it that way, right? We're keeping everything going. We know everything about everything. And we want it to be the best that it can for ourselves and our customers. So perfection is a real problem. You've got to call it out, and you've got to realize, actually, I can't spend all my time doing things that stress me out, I'm not very good at, I don't enjoy. If you're spending too much time doing that kind of stuff, it means you're not making the best of your time. You're not presenting to the outside world, to your customers, the best version of you. So you need to think of another way to use your time and find other ways of outsourcing, downscaling, whatever it is, those tasks you need to spend more of your time being the best, doing the things you are best at. And you also need to get over this fact that your strategy's got to be perfect, or your product's got to be perfect, or your messaging's got to be perfect. It's far better, as it says here on the slide, to focus on learning goals, so that you're putting stuff out to the world and you're communicating frequently and you're learning what works and what doesn't work. All the time you're developing your ideas in your office away from the outside world is time lost. You need to get learning with your customers and your potential customers. And then I want to talk about the value of holding ourselves to account. Really, really important. Now, I've worked with a coach myself at two critical parts of my journey. And this is the reason why. So 65% of people will achieve a goal if that goal is set with an accountability partner. Someone they're going to meet a week or a month or 6 months later, and they can say, when we meet in a month's time, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Just having that process, you're more likely than not, 65%, to then do what you say you're going to do. Because we don't want to turn up and say, no, I haven't done it. If you meet regularly with an accountability partner, that rises to 95%. It's an almost certainty if you work with someone continuously. So it's a key aspect to think about. How can I find that accountability? How can I get that external support? Now, it can be with a professional coach like me, but it cannot be. It can easily be just even a friend sometimes, or a partner. I spoke to someone recently, a young entrepreneur. She's doing really well with her business. And she said the key moment that changed for me was actually just getting a new housemate. And she had someone to offload her ideas and her thoughts and her frustrations to on a regular basis. And it helped her process what her challenges were and what she needed to do. Just talking about these things more often. But you can't underestimate the impact of this stuff. So as I say, I've used external coaching myself twice in my career. Once, the first time led to me starting up my own business when I thought I wasn't ready to do it. And in the end, I did do it because I was working with a coach, and I actually realized, I have everything I need. Why don't I do it now? That became the solution. The second time was when I pivoted my business and changed it. I'll talk about that a bit in a moment. When I wanted to take it to the next level, some of my life situation changed. And I needed my business to give me something different from what it had been previously. And at that point, I got external accountability to support because I needed something to keep me honest and keep me moving forward. It's very hard to do this if we're holding ourselves to account, drowning under 1,000,001 things to do. When you articulate it to someone else, it becomes much clearer just to yourself. What is it you need to do next? So this is my process, putting all of this into place that I've talked about so far. And this is a really key point, because with business owners, my message is you don't want to take a long time doing this. So 12 months, 6 months, no, just far too long. if you need to change your business, you want to be thinking quickly. You want to be doing quickly. This is why I designed my program exactly in this way, because I know this is what works. If we draw it out over 6 or 12 months, there's just far too much time for you to get off track, distracted, suckered into the usual firefighting. And actually, I think with the entrepreneurial mindset, it works better to work quickly. It's normally how we started out, doing quick. Well, we've got to set things up quickly. Like, how do we send invoices? How do we set up the IT system, build a website? We do it quickly. And when you're in a point of rebooting a business, you also want to do it quickly. It's the most effective way. So this is an example with my own business. As I said before, when I pivoted earlier in the year, I tripled my sales calls in 6 months because I totally changed my approach and what I was doing. And this is the step-by-step process I went through. First of all, I had to look at myself. The answer is, if you're in a business where you effectively are the person who owns it and leads it, and you're responsible for 90% of the decisions, it's really important that you understand yourself, your ways of working, your strengths, your blind spots, the things you don't like doing. You need to think about that. So with mine, my personal insight was a lack of visibility to the outside world. I was too focused on delivery for my clients. And when I was deep in delivery, I wasn't communicating enough. So I was having, peaks and troughs of communication to the outside world. And lo and behold, I then have peaks and troughs in the business as it came in. So it's all correlated. So that was the thing. I was like, I need to communicate more often and more consistently. There was other things, but that was the key point I had to change. Secondly, it was about creating unique value. So I created the Founders Reboot program as a packaged product, which increased the value to a tighter audience, because before I was kind of flexing and doing customized stuff for lots of clients. And it's quite exhausting working in that way. And this comes back to what I talked about earlier about you can find it harder and harder to sustain a successful business, because what often happens is we're problem solvers as business owners, and we think, well, I can solve that problem. People come to me with a problem. I think, first of all, I think, no, that's not relevant to me. Then I start, back of my mind starts whirring. I think, well, actually, I can solve that problem for that client. Let's do it. And that's great, but over time, there's only so many years you can keep doing that. So productizing, if you're not already doing it, is really important. This is, I guess, in a B2B service kind of context. But even if you've got more kind of tangible products, it's about thinking like, where does the value actually lie? What does this actually deliver to people from an emotional, social, functional point of view? That's how you unearth the real value you're delivering. And of course, being a bit more ruthless about your audience, not going to everyone you could ever serve, but your really tightest audience that you can serve. And then going back to the point I said about communication, it's not only create the value is not enough. You've got to be able to communicate it. And so I work with my clients a lot on giving them a safe space to experiment with different stories, different messaging, different ways of communicating their purpose, what they do, how it works. For me, I had to communicate more frequently. So I did that through webinars like this, doing more LinkedIn, building my network. My network is quadruple what it was this time last year. And this is all through doing these things. And then lastly, action and accountability. So we can talk a good game here, but if we're not going to do it, we're going to be stuck in a trap of stress and working harder and harder. We've got to actually hold ourselves to account, set clear goals. And as I say, that was the point when I was making this change to my business. That's when I got external coaching support again. It gave me a process to hold myself to account. So I said I would introduce my Founders Reboot program, so if you're interested in it, how does it work? It's about packaging up the things I've talked through so far. It's a mix of leadership coaching, business mentoring. It's about learning how to promote your business and create that high value offer. And it's about simple, actionable plans and a process to hold you to account. So it's basically summing up all those things that talked about. There is a 4-step process. I won't go into the detail of it here, but these are like all the things that we do. And it's over an 8-week period. We meet once a week to do it. So it is about doing it quickly and moving on, because we don't want to be sidetracked. We do it over many months, we're going to get sidetracked. And the outcome should be about more control, more growth, and more freedom. That's what we're aiming for. And the tangibles of what you get is, I mentioned about you've got to start with personal insight. So I use a package called Disc, which gives you a 15-page personal profile. It's a really nice length because it's not too long and it's not too short. It's just enough to help you realize what are the key things, the opportunities you're missing. What I tend to find with most business owners is there's one kind of stretch zone they need to go into, and Disc helps you discover what that is. It becomes obvious very quickly. There's one area, normally like with a lot of my clients, I find like my experienced clients, as I say, some of them who've been struggling recently, it's often about one type of way of promoting their business, like maybe doing talks or doing presentations or webinars, whatever it is. Like something either they're uncomfortable with it or they're actually bored of doing it, so they've stopped doing it. And you need that kind of insight to find out what's the one biggest change I can make to my business that will lead to growth. It's that kind of thing. As I say, we meet for over 8 weeks for 90 minutes each session. That's 12 hours of one-to-one coaching. And the purpose of how I've done this and designed it is to make it as easy and as quick as possible for you to get a result. So everything's online and templated. We go through some very simple exercises, a mix of that and coaching to get you to where you need to be. And it's all there in one place already ready for you to go. You've got a clear action plan at the end of it. So that's how it works. This is the feedback I've got. And as I say, I've only been running this for the last year, basically, and had such positive feedback from everyone who has experienced it and putting all these kind of principles into place. It's like a distillation of all the best techniques and approaches I found working through all those organizations I showed you at the start. I've really kind of streamlined it. And I particularly highlight this quote here from my client, Branny, who said, "I realized I had a power that I didn't feel I had." And I really love that quote because it really surprised me, even like how much she took from the program and working together, and how much because she was in that period I was talking about of like, I know I'm not getting out there enough and promote myself enough. And when we dug into it, she did have this boredom factor and she needed to overcome that. And actually she realized she could be so much more focused and proactive. And she's doing amazing things now. She started partnerships in North America she didn't have before. She's partnered with other people on new and exciting events. She's running her own events and she wasn't doing this before. It's really like re-energized her. And actually a lot of these clients here talk about being re-energized. You can see quotes from this on the Craft and Scale website. There's if you go to foundersreboot.com, you click on what do our clients say, you can hear all of this stuff for yourself. Now the program is, the current price of it is $2,490. If you're interested, if you're a business owner and you're interested in working with someone else like me to make the changes, to be proactive, as I talked about, that's the price. There is also the option to split it into installments if you wish to. And you also get at the end, as a bonus, a free accountability call. That's when you say to me, we create an action plan together and you say, Joe, in a month's time, I want to call with you because I want to make sure I've done X, Y, and Z. And I give you that for free. Or you could say 2 months, 6 months, whatever it is. So you get all that within the package. However, as great as all that is, that's not my offer for you today. If you want to buy it, obviously, book a call with me and we'll do it. We'd love to work with you. But that's not my offer for you today. My offer for today, and this is only going to those of you watching this webinar, is you can try my coaching for 1 month. So this is something I did it once back in the summer and it was really popular. So I was like, okay, when the time is right, I'll offer it out again because it does enable a lot of people to move forward quickly. And it takes away the pressure a bit of like, because I know if you don't, you and I probably don't know each other personally. And it's a bit of a leap to then go and invest, a couple of grand into a coaching program with someone that you don't know. So my offer for you is you can try out working with me for a month. And also I get the opportunity to see if you're a good fit for Founders Reboot as well, because I only want to work with people who are going to take action and want to move forward. So it's a good opportunity for us to see if we're a good fit for each other. So this is how it works. It's called a 30-day challenge. It's just a ridiculous price of £400 plus VAT. So it's like, and then we meet for 4 sessions over us. We meet weekly for a month. And together we you will set a goal when we start working together of what do you most want to take action on in 30 days, in a month. We pick that as a goal to work on. We have 4 sessions and you get the 15-page disc report as well. And if you hit your 30-day goal, you then qualify for a 25% discount on Founders Reboot. If you want to go forward, you can also just say, actually, that was great. We worked together for a month. I'm happy. I've got momentum. I'll go off and do it myself. Perfectly fine for you to do that. But if you want to then go through the more kind of structured process of Founders Reboot to look at your whole business and get you on the path to growth, we can do that. And you'll get a discount, which you earn through the 30-day challenge. You've got to make your goal, though. That's the important thing. So if that's of interest to you, book a call with me. That's the process for doing it. This is an example. I said I've done it once before. My client, Joe, he did the 30-day challenge in the summer. And he said of me, this Joe's no-nonsense, direct, challenging, but friendly style was exactly what I needed. If you're a founder, small business owner, or just looking to grow into a professional happy place, I can't recommend Joe's Founders programs enough. What have you got to lose? Well, I think for 400 quid, that's a legitimate question. I've tried to price these things so that we're taking away the excuses and we can think, okay, if we want to get going, let's do it. And you can try it out and you can see if it's a good fit. If I'm a good fit for you, because it's important when you work with a coach that we're a good fit for each other. And this allows us to work together in a low risk way for both of us. So that's all I have to talk about today. If you're interested in speaking to me about the 30-day challenge, I've got 12 call slots. You need to use the QR code. So hold your phone up, your camera to the screen and take that. It will take you to my Calendly. You can book a spot in with me. And you can also go on foundersreboot.com. There is a Calendly on there. You can book a call in with me. So we need to talk about your situation. I need to understand what your challenges are. And then we can take it forward and see if we want to work together and if you're a good fit for my style of coaching. So book a call with me if it's interesting. If you feel like what I've talked about today resonates with you in terms of the challenges, in terms of where you want to go, in terms of like what it was you want to achieve from your business, is it about reclaiming your freedom? Because that's my real speciality, is doing that with you. If you want to get away from the stress and the burnout feeling and that sense of like, oh, if I just keep working harder and you're kind of stuck in that cycle, this is a great opportunity to help you take the first steps in a really easy, short-term way. So, get in touch with me if that's of interest to you. I'm also interested, if you've got any questions now, we can talk about it. Put them in the chat or the Q&A if you've got anything you'd like to ask about anything I've talked about today. More than happy to stay on to do that. The other last thing to say is the offer on the 30-day challenge that expires at the start of December, on the 2nd of December. So if you want to take advantage of it, then you need to move quickly. So do book a call as soon as possible if that is of interest to you and if you think it will be of value. Okay, so I've got a question here from Antoinette. Let me just read it, Antoinette, so I can see. Okay. Okay. So Antoinette has talked about here in the chat. You probably won't be able to see it, but I can. She talks about keeping on top of everyday tasks, and she's looked at a couple of options in terms of outsourcing, working a little bit differently, and she's saying she's concerned about privacy. So that's a legitimate thought, doesn't it? I think Antoinette, you're kind of thinking on the right line, sorry, which is like, how do I best use my time? Your time is your most valuable asset. I can't stress that enough. So you're thinking along the right lines. I think the problems that you're highlighting, that you're worried about, they are legitimate ones, but they're all ones that you can overcome by finding the right partners and having the right agreements. But again, it's about being proactive to recognize this is a priority. So I would say for you, I don't know how you feel, but you might feel some of the things you mentioned, they feel like, is it important enough to merit this? But I think it is, because it's actually all these like smaller things you're talking about are sucking up, probably, I'd imagine, vast amounts of your time. You're not therefore you're not presenting to the world and to your customers the best version of you. So I would recommend mapping out your whole business. This is the process I do through Founders Reboot, is to map out your whole business, in what your proposition is, but also how do you work the income and the outgoing, some of the logistical stuff. Just that very top line level. We're not doing a PhD on your business here. Once you do that, you've got a bird's eye view of your business and you're pinpointing, and I push you on this, what is the actual true value you're delivering for customers? That suddenly makes it so much easier to make these decisions in doing it that way. So that's the key point. But I would suggest, do take action on it. Thank you for your question. I hope that's helpful. Feel free to follow up if there's anything else. Thank you all for giving up time on this Tuesday morning. I hope what I've talked about has been helpful to you. I hope it's made you think about your business and yourself. And as I said before, it's really important you think about yourself. Like, what do you want? But also, what is it about me and my style of working that's not working for my business right now? For me, I wasn't getting out there and communicating and doing webinars like this. For you, it's probably going to be something different, but you need to identify that thing. And if you do that, then that's when you put yourself on the front foot. You gain the pace, you become a pace setter with purpose. And that's what the successful businesses look like. And just be that little bit braver. That's the key point. Thank you very much for your time. Book a call with me if you're interested. Go to the website, Founders Reboot. And also, this call will be on YouTube as well. And I just see, because I had comments there, but is there anything on the Q&A that I'm missing? Let me just see. No, okay. So we've covered everything. So everyone's asked what they want to ask. So yes, hopefully see a few of you more soon. In the meantime, best of luck to all of you. And thanks very much for your time. Take care. Have a great day.